Midday sun cast glittering diamonds across the cobalt waves of the Mediterranean. On board the sleek white yacht Serenity, Serena Vale stood at the railing, her hand unconsciously resting on the swell of her belly. 5 months pregnant, she had never felt more alive, or more vulnerable. But Damon Cross saw only advantage. For months he'd plotted this moment, his charming smile and tender words nothing more than camouflage. Today, with the cameras discreetly hidden, he would complete the perfect murder. Serena turned as Damon stepped from the cabin, crisp linen jacket over tailored slacks. His dark eyes glittered beneath harsh sunlight. "Are you all right?" he asked, voice soft but laced with mock concern. She smiled faintly, brushing damp curls from her face. "Breeze is lovely. Thank you for bringing me." His smile widened, genuine in appearance. He placed a gloved hand on her shoulder. "I love you," he murmured, leaning close. The smell of his cologne, amber and sandalwood, made her heart flutter. "I love you too," she whispered, closing her eyes. Moments later, Damon's grip tightened. The world tilted. Serena opened her eyes to see a glint of steel in his gaze. "Why?" Her words caught in her throat as his palm pressed against her back and propelled her forward. She crashed against the railing. Time slowed. Her breath left her in a frantic gasp. "Damon!" she cried, arms flailing. His face twisted in cold triumph as he shoved again, sending her over the edge. Serena vanished beneath the waves. Under the azure surface, Serena's world exploded into icy chaos. Water surged into her mouth and nostrils, stinging her lungs as she fought for breath. Memories flickered. Her mother's lullaby, the thrum of her baby's heartbeat on the hospital monitor, Damon's hand at her waist. Panic clawed at her chest, but instinct took over. She kicked fiercely, arms flailing, propelling her toward the glimmering portal of light. The hull of Serenity loomed like a white giant above, its reflection dancing like shattered glass. Serena blinked, bubbles streaming from her lips, vision blurred. Somewhere in the depths lay danger and salvation. She clenched her teeth, summoned every ounce of strength. She would not go under. Above, Damon stood motionless, coattails fluttering, watching as the captain and crew rushed to the rail in alarm. Through the tinted windows, Juliet Voss, Serena's former best friend turned traitor, let out a muffled gasp, pressing a hand to her mouth. "Man overboard!" the captain shouted, his voice echoing across polished teak. Hands gripped the rail. Life rings clicked free. A crew member dove into the froth. Damon's heart pounded, but he imagined the headlines. Tragic accident claims young mother-to-be. He straightened his jacket, coaxed tears to his eyes. Juliet emerged on deck, mascara streaked, voice trembling. "Oh my God, Serena." Damon pressed her hand, feigning shock. "She's strong. They'll find her." He wrapped an arm around Juliet's trembling shoulders, guiding her toward the lounge. Cameras concealed in potted plants recorded every moment. Their show of grief would net sympathy, help destroy whispers of foul play. Below deck, monitors displayed live feed of rescue crews combing the deep blue. Serena's body never appeared. Damon exhaled, mentally sealing the pact with Juliet, a pact that promised wealth, power, and freedom. On the aft deck, the sun dipped toward the horizon. Damon watched the last ripple fade, then turned away. "Let's go inside. Guests are arriving soon." Juliet nodded, wiping tears. No one noticed Damon's brief smile of victory, or how tightly a steel blade was clipped to his belt beneath the jacket. He never looked back. Damon Cross returned to his clifftop villa in Monaco under a veil of solemnity, so convincing that even his closest allies believed his tears. The flash of cameras and the hush of journalists greeted him on the marble steps. He draped a tailored black coat over his shoulders and pressed a trembling hand to the chest of his bespoke suit, just enough to convey raw grief. Reporters clamored. "How are you holding up, Mr. Cross?" He swallowed hard, voice breaking. "My heart, it's shattered forever." Every syllable was calculated. Inside, Juliet Voss awaited him in the grand foyer, silk gown trailing behind her. She offered a forced smile, mascara running. "They've set up the memorial on the waterfront terrace," she whispered. Damon simply nodded, gaze distant. Together they ascended the grand staircase, two actors rehearsing tragedy on the world stage. Each step echoed like a heartbeat. Every flicker of candlelight in the chandeliers seemed to mourn Serena's loss. On the terrace, white roses and flickering candles formed a halo around an empty chair draped in black velvet. A lone harpist plucked melancholy notes as friends, family, and select investors gathered in hushed clusters. Damon stepped forward, voice quivering. Serena was my soulmate, my partner, my everything. I'll carry her memory in my soul. He lowered his head. Cameras caught the glint of unseen emotion, just enough hint of authenticity to forestall suspicion. After the eulogy, as attendees drifted away, Juliet approached Damon at the railing overlooking the Mediterranean. I found something, she murmured, pressing an envelope into his hand. A letter Serena wrote before disappearing. He forced a curious arch of his brow. Let me see. Inside, in Serena's familiar handwriting, was a single line. I fear you more than I love you. His pulse thundered. This slip could ignite questions, questions he couldn't risk. He crumpled the note, gripping Juliet's arm. Burn it, he hissed, voice low. That night, in his private study, Damon lit the letter in the marble fireplace. Flames devoured the paper, smoke curling like a promise of secrets lost. He stood alone, watching until only ash remained. In that hush, a flicker of something darker passed through him, satisfaction or relief. But beneath it lay unease. Serena's words still haunted his mind. He drew in a steadying breath, reclaimed the facade of control, and extinguished the hearth. Outside, the Mediterranean's waves crashed, oblivious to the deceit unfolding above them. The small fishing boat drifted near a private island off the Mediterranean coast, morning light painting the sky in rose and gold. Serena Vale awoke on the deck, limbs stiff with salt water and shock. Her vision swam, then cleared to reveal Lucian Knight's rugged silhouette leaning over her. His steel blue eyes held urgent concern. Can you hear me? He asked, voice low and steady like a promise. Serena swallowed, throat raw, and nodded. She tried to move, but pain flared in her side. Lucian gently pressed a wet cloth to her forehead. You were out there for hours. I almost didn't find you. His accent was indistinct, European, perhaps, but his kindness required no translation. I'm pregnant, she whispered, hand drifting to her belly. His expression flickered with alarm. We need to get you to safety. Below deck, Lucian's crew tended to Serena's injuries. One trimmed her tangled hair, another prepared warmed broth. Lucian monitored from the doorway, glancing between her and the open sea beyond. Serena shivered under the weight of his robe. Memories crashed in. Damon's betrayal, the icy plunge, the fight for air. Tears welled. Lucian placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You're safe now. No one will harm you again. The gratitude in Serena's eyes was raw and fierce. As they sailed toward the island's private compound, Serena asked, Why help me? Lucian paused, scanning the horizon. I lost someone I loved to greet. I couldn't stand by and watch it happen again. His words warmed her like the sun. When they landed, a sprawling estate of glass and stone awaited, sensors marking the boundary. Lush gardens blooming despite the rocky shore. Serena realized she'd stumbled into a world beyond her wildest imagination. That evening, Lucian escorted her to a cliffside pavilion overlooking the glimmering archipelago. Lanterns drifted in the breeze. He offered her a seat beside a roaring fire pit and poured herbal tea. Serena cradled the steaming cup, heart pounding with relief and uncertainty. What will you do? She asked. Lucian's gaze was fixed on the flickering flames. I'll protect you and your babies, with everything I have. Under the first star of night, Serena felt the first spark of hope ignite within her chest. 9 months later, Serena Vale gripped Lucian Knight's hand in a dimly lit birthing suite carved into the island's cliffs. Waves thundered below, a lullaby to drown out her screams. Lucian knelt beside the bed, whispering encouragement. Breathe, Serena. You're doing amazing. Serena's body convulsed with pain and determination. Every contraction brought her closer to meeting the life she'd fought to save. Hours passed in a blur of sweat, tears, and whispered prayers. Midwives moved like shadows, guiding her through each agonizing push. Serena tapped into a well of strength she never knew existed. When the first cry pierced the air, she collapsed back onto the pillows, gasping. "It's a boy," the midwife announced. Serena's eyes filled as Lucian gently lifted the tiny body into her arms. Axel Vale, son of her resilience. Less than an hour later, another cry echoed. A daughter, Nova Vale, pink and perfect, slipped into Serena's waiting arms. Twins. Serena stared down at them, tears streaming. "My loves," she murmured, voice choked. Lucian brushed a strand of hair from her face. "They're miracles." Serena nodded, heart bursting. In that moment, the woman who'd been buried under false grief found rebirth in her children's eyes. After the births, Serena lay exhausted, Lucian by her side. He placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. "We'll give them the life they deserve." Serena nodded, determination flickering in her gaze. "And one day," she whispered, "he'll see what he lost." Lucian's hand tightened around hers. "He will." As dawn broke, Serena gazed out over the sea. Twins nestled against her chest. The salty breeze tousled her hair, lifting her chin. Her journey from betrayal to survival had forged her into someone unrecognizable and unstoppable. Serena Vale's old identity died with the ashes of that Monaco fireplace. Now, she stood in front of a sleek glass building in Geneva, nameplate gleaming. Sarah Knight, founder and CEO. Reflection rippled across the tinted window. Dark hair cropped into a sharp bob. Tailored power, suit hugging her silhouette. The woman staring back bore no trace of the frightened wife, once discarded at sea. Inside, staff moved with disciplined grace. Engineers and executives greeted her with respectful nods. Lucian waited at the head of the boardroom table, twin children playing quietly under a glass partition. Serena drew in a steadying breath. "Thank you for believing in me," she said, voice calm and commanding. Lucian smiled proudly. "You believed in yourself." She swept her gaze across the room. "Today, we unveil Knight Technologies." Murmurs rose. The projected prototype on the screen revealed a revolutionary quantum interface, set to disrupt global markets. Applause rippled through the room. Serena offered a small smile, pleasure and vengeance intertwined. Later that evening, Serena stood on a balcony overlooking the city's lights. Axel and Nova slept strapped into car seats inside her armored car. Lucian joined her, handing over a flute of champagne. "To new beginnings," he toasted. Serena's lips curved. "To rewriting my story." As the fireworks over Lake Geneva burst in vibrant hues, Serena closed her eyes and allowed herself one moment of triumph. Beneath the surface of her polished exterior, a fire blazed, a promise that the dead wife had returned to reclaim everything she was entitled to, and more. 1 year after Serena's disappearance, Damon Cross strode through the manicured gardens of his Monaco estate, the late afternoon sun glinting off his polished cufflinks. Beneath his tailored tuxedo, a pulse of guilt throbbed every time he glanced at the rose-petal-strewn aisle. Today, he would marry Juliette Voss, his former best friend and Serena's betrayer. They had rehearsed every moment, every tear, every smile. Only Damon knew it was all a farce. The guests gathered under a white pergola overlooking the glittering harbor. Champagne flutes sparkled in the breeze, and harp music drifted through the air. Juliette, in her ivory gown, emerged at the end of the aisle, eyes shining with triumph and anxiety. As she walked toward him, Damon's breath caught, not from remorse, but from the intoxicating taste of power reclaimed. He offered his arm, and they advanced together. Juliet's laughter fluttered like a bird in gilded cage when guests toasted their eternal love. Damon compelled himself to smile, mask of sincerity in place. Each toast echoed Serena's absence. "To new beginnings," one guest declared, and another raised her glass. Damon nearly recoiled at the irony. He had manufactured this new life on the ruins of his first marriage. Beneath the polished veneer, he felt Serena's ghost hover. After the ceremony, Damon and Juliet retreated to an ornate balcony. Lanterns flickered around them like secret watchers. Juliet traced a finger along his jawline. "You made the right choice," she whispered, voice slick with satisfaction. Damon nodded, though his mind replayed Serena's final scream. He pressed a gentle kiss to Juliet's temple, one last necessity before the truth unraveled his carefully ordered world. That evening, as the sky blazed magenta, Damon led Juliet to the dance floor. Guests circled, cameras flashed, and staff poured champagne. Juliet's head rested on his shoulder, eyes closed in contentment. Damon's heart, however, pounded with distant echoes of Serena's last words. "I fear you more than I love you." He glanced across the water, searching for a phantom glimpse of his former wife. In the dim glow of the reception tent, Damon slipped away, crossing marble floors toward the marina. Underneath the moonlight, he paused by the yacht where the tragedy had occurred. Memories flooded. Serena's last gasp above the deck, the frigid shock of the sea, the crash of waves. He closed his eyes, fought the surge of panic. She's dead, he reminded himself. Yet part of him feared otherwise. Returning to the party, Damon found Juliet laughing with his investors, oblivious to his unease. He straightened his tie and rejoined her, delivering practiced smiles. The cameras caught every moment. He raised one last glass of vintage champagne. "To us," he said, voice steady. Juliet's eyes sparkled as she leaned in. Damon felt his facade solidify, an unbreakable mask of triumph. But as music swelled and guests danced beneath the stars, Damon couldn't shake the distant lullaby of the Mediterranean waves. In his chest, Serena's heartbeat still echoed. Under the laughter and the lights, Damon vowed to bury the past forever. Only he didn't realize that some debts refused to stay hidden at sea. 10 years passed in a blur of board meetings, patent filings, and gala appearances. Damon Cross believed he'd built an unassailable empire. But at this year's Global Tech Summit in Zurich, as he delivered a keynote on the future of quantum AI, a chill ran down his spine. After his speech, Damon descended the stage to applause. Reporters swarmed, flashes erupting like fireworks. He posed for photos, smiled for cameras, and answered polite questions, until a woman in the back row stood and cleared her throat. Dark hair cropped in a sharp bob, tailored suit, posture regal. Damon froze. The world blurred. Her storm gray eyes bored into his. Lucian Knight, Serena's protector-turned-partner, followed cautiously behind. But the woman alone commanded every gaze. Damon's breath caught. She looked like a statue carved from ice, exquisite, intimidating, entirely familiar. His pulse thundered. He blinked, and she offered a small, cold smile. One that spoke of survival, vengeance, and power. The summit's host approached Damon. "Mr. Cross, we have a special guest who wishes to see you." Damon nodded, voice gone. Juliet appeared by his side, confusion in her eyes. Damon swallowed. "I'll be right back," he said, and stepped toward the woman. She extended a single hand, gloved in ebony leather. "Good evening, Damon," she said, voice smooth. "I'm Sarah Knight." Damon's knees throbbed. He hadn't heard that name in years. Under the summit's dazzling lights, it felt like the tolling of a funeral bell. Lucian emerged from the shadows. "Should I leave you two alone?" he asked quietly. Sarah shook her head. "Not yet." Damon's gaze flickered between Sarah and Lucian. Memories collided. The shove, the plunge, the fight for breath, then rebirth. The woman before him was Serena Vale reborn. Juliet, watching from a distance, paled. Investors murmured, cameras whirled. The summit lost focus as the two titans stood face to face. Damon's suave facade cracking at the edges, Sarah's steely confidence radiating power. In that charged silence, Damon realized the empire he built on lies was about to crumble beneath the weight of a single name. 2 weeks later, the world awoke to headlines. Knight Technologies launches hostile takeover bid for Cross Ventures. Stock tickers plummeted. Inboard screens flickered with breaking news. Damon Cross sat in his glass-walled war room, heart pounding. "Is this real?" he rasped. His CFO, pale, slid a tablet across the table. The numbers were incontrovertible. Knight Technologies held a 20% stake and formal bid to acquire a controlling interest. Damon rubbed his face. "How did she get the shares so quickly?" he demanded. The CFO shook his head. "Pre-market trades disguised through shell companies. We only discovered it last night." Across the table, Juliet pressed her lips into a firm line. She knew every loophole. We're backed into a corner. Damon clenched his fists. He breathed slowly, recalling Serena's ruthless efficiency. She's been planning this for months. The board convened emergency sessions. Lawyers huddled over spreadsheets. Damon addressed the room. We will fight this. Prepare a poison pill, rally our investors, threaten litigation. His voice was steel, but inside panic erupted. It wasn't just any takeover. It was Serena's personal reckoning. That evening, Damon returned to his office, overlooking the Monaco skyline. Juliet followed, curling her fingers through her gown's fabric. We can't win this, she murmured. Damon sank into his chair, mind racing. She knows my every weakness. He tapped a pen against the desk. Then we make her pay for it. Juliet's eyes widened. How? Damon leaned forward, voice low. We expose her identity. Turn this into a scandal. Meanwhile, across the city, Sarah Knight sat in her Geneva penthouse, twins asleep in adjoining cribs. Lucian joined her by the window, city lights shimmering below. He's going to fight dirty, she said calmly. Lucian nodded. So will we. Sarah turned, face illuminated by determination. Let him come. I've spent 10 years building an empire from ashes. He can't touch me now. Back in Monaco, Damon drafted a statement hinting at insider trading and identity fraud. But as he stared at the blinking cursor, he hesitated. She's not Serena Vale anymore. The old love flickered, but rage burned brighter. He ended the message with a cold, empty flourish. We will not be intimidated. In the boardroom the next morning, cameras captured Damon's defiant face. But behind him, shadows lengthened. He had sparked a war, and Sarah Knight was more than ready for battle. 3 days into the takeover battle, Damon stormed through the sleek halls of Cross Ventures headquarters, urgency propelling each stride. Employees scurried aside, eyes dropping. He headed to the executive lounge, expecting Juliet and his legal team. Instead, he stopped dead. 2 children stood at the end of the corridor, hand in hand. Axel and Nova Vale, Serena's twins, looked up at him with matching dark eyes. Their presence was unannounced, alarming every security camera along the corridor. Damon's breath stuttered. He swallowed hard. What how? A quiet voice drifted from the shadows. Hello, Damon. Sarah Knight emerged, her heels clicking softly on marble. She carried Nova, while Axel clung to Lucian, who followed close behind. The 4 approached in serene silence. Damon's heart hammered. Every heartbeat bellowed guilt. Sarah set Nova on her father's polished shoes. The toddler peered up, expression serious. Axel stepped forward, voice small but clear. Daddy, do you remember me? Damon's mouth went dry. He stared, unable to speak. The corridor lights glinted on his sweat-darkened brow. Juliet burst from the lounge, panic etched on her face. What are you doing here? She demanded. Sarah placed a hand on Juliet's arm. Show him. She lifted a folded photograph, baby Axel and Nova, days old in Serena's arms. Juliet recoiled, eyes wide. Damon's face drained of color. Employees gathered behind glass walls. Telephones rang unanswered. The twins remained still, innocence radiating power. Damon's voice trembled as he asked, Where did you get them? Sarah's gaze was icy. They're my children. You can verify them any way you like. Damon closed his eyes. Memory slammed into him. 5 months pregnant, Serena gasping underwater, the crash of waves. Now there she stood, resurrected, flanked by his own flesh and blood. He opened his eyes. Rage and fear warred in them. Sarah folded her arms. This takeover is personal, Damon. You took everything from me. Now I'm taking it all back. My name, my company, my children. She swept her gaze across the corridor, where security lent his word. Consider this your final warning. Damon swallowed. His voice was a whisper. You win. The words tasted like defeat. In that fluorescent-lit hallway, victory and vengeance marched hand in hand, led by 2 small silhouettes whose father could no longer deny their existence. Within hours of the twins' public appearance, Damon authorized a private paternity test. He sat in his office, jaw clenched, staring at the identical swabs in sterile plastic cases. Juliet hovered behind him, clutching the chain of her necklace. Neither spoke. Across town, Sarah Knight held her breath as Lucian monitored the courier's progress on a secure line. When the samples arrived, the technician sealed them in a biohazard envelope and began processing. Time stretched. Every tick of the clock brought Damon closer to irrevocable truth. Back in Monaco, Damon tapped his fingers against the oak desk, eyes flicking to the unopened results folder. Guilt coiled in his gut. He recalled Serena's last words, "I fear you more than I love you," and shivered. Juliet placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. "Open it," she urged softly. Damon nodded, exhaled. He tore the envelope, withdrew the results slip, and read, 100% paternity match. Damon Cross is the biological father of Axel Vale and Nova Vale. The text blurred as his vision swam. He dropped the paper. Heart pounding, he stared at Juliet. She looked away. Silence filled the room like a verdict. Damon's empire, his fortune, his name, rested on that tiny slip of paper. He sank into his chair. "It's over," he whispered. Juliet exhaled, tears falling. "She has you where she wants." That evening, headlines screamed. Cross Venture CEO confirmed father of twins in stunning DNA reveal. Market analysts predicted collapse. Damon watched the screens. Each news anchor's face a mirror of his humiliation. Meanwhile, Sarah stood on Geneva's rooftop terrace, twins giggling between her knees. Lucian joined them, wrapping an arm around her. She held the DNA slip that confirmed what Damon denied for years. "He knows," she said softly. Lucian kissed her temple. "Now the world will know too." Below, Monaco's skyline glittered, once a symbol of Damon's triumph. Now it trembled on the brink of a knight's conquest. In that moment, Serena's vow echoed. "He tried to drown me, but I taught myself to swim." And she had learned to swim all the way back to claim her life, her name, and her children. Juliet Voss sat alone in the marble-walled conference room of Cross Ventures, daylight slipping through floor-to-ceiling windows. Her wedding ring felt unbearably heavy on her finger. For years, she'd silenced her guilt with ambition, first as Serena's friend, then as Damon's bride. But tonight, that fragile armor shattered. It began with an anonymous package. A sleek USB drive slipped under her door. Inside the envelope, a single note in Serena's handwriting. "Listen, then decide where your loyalty truly lies." Heart pounding, Juliet pushed it into her designer clutch and fled to her private study above the villa. She hardly slept. Images of her best friend gasping underwater haunted every dream. Morning light found Juliet hunched over her laptop. With shaking fingers, she plugged in the drive. A folder labeled Evidence appeared. She clicked on the first file. Shaky footage from Serenity's deck. Serena's hand wrapped around the rail, then Damon's sudden shove. Time slowed. The video froze on Serena's terrified face. Juliet's breath caught. Next, a second clip. Serena's whispered voicemail, recorded minutes before the yacht departure. "If anything happens to me, Damon did this. I'm 5 months along. I love you, Jules, but I'm scared." Juliet's eyes filled. She stared at the screen, tears spilling as her world splintered. A third file revealed whispered conversations between Damon and a crew member, arranging the accident in exchange for stock options. They laughed, voices low. Juliet pressed a hand to her mouth, stomach twisting. Betrayal bloomed hotter than any ambition. She was complicit in a murder plot, her best friend's attempted murder. Shaking, Juliet deleted the video of herself celebrating her wedding next to Damon. She closed the laptop and slid to the floor, sobbing. Guilt clawed at her throat. Serena had rescued and hidden her. Yet Juliet had repaid that kindness with treachery. By dusk, Juliet made her decision. She dressed in black, no makeup, an armor of remorse. In Cross Venture's war room, Damon barked orders to counter Night Technology's takeover. Juliet entered, resolve stiffening her spine. Damon glanced up, annoyance flickering. "What is it?" Juliet met his gaze, voice steady though her heart shuddered. "I know everything." Silence roared. Damon's eyes hardened. Juliet swallowed past the lump. "I have proof, and I choose her side." She pressed a second USB onto the table. Damon froze, fury igniting in his eyes. Juliet turned and walked away. leaving Damon to stare at the drive containing every secret that would bring his empire crashing down. Under the cover of twilight, Sarah Knight and Lucian Knight stood in the glass-encased media vault of Knight Technologies. The walls were lined with encrypted servers and backup drives, each containing the story of Serena's rebirth. Tonight, Serena prepared to unleash the final weapon, the secret tapes of Damon and Juliet. Lucian inserted the first hard drive into the media console. A single click echoed. Serena watched the progress bar fill, her pulse steady despite years of simmering rage. She remembered Damon's eyes on the yacht, cold and triumphant. Now, those same eyes would stare at her on every screen in the world. The first recording activated, a hidden crew cam from the Serenity's aft deck, capturing the shove from a second angle. Serena's hand slipped, railing rattled, and she fell out of frame. The audio track revealed Damon's whispered order. "Make sure she doesn't come back." Serena inhaled, voice low. "He tried to kill me." Next, the tapes shifted to Juliet's confessional, recorded a month after the accident. "I'm terrified," Juliet confessed to an unseen interviewer. "He won't stop. I helped him. I regret it." Tears dropped on the microphone. Serena's chest tightened. Forgiveness had died years ago. Vengeance burned brighter. Lucian cued the third file, a phone call between Damon and his insurance broker. They chuckled over the payout, Serena's demise, to yield millions. Serena's smile was cold. "I once trusted him," she murmured. "Now I own his fate." With a final keystroke, Lucian packaged the files for public release. "Ready?" he asked. Serena nodded, donned a tailored blazer, and strode toward the conference stage. The next morning, Cross Ventures executives awoke to embargoed headlines. Tapes reveal plot to murder CEO's wife. Evidence against Damon Cross and Juliet Voss leaked. In Monaco, Damon's penthouse erupted. Phones rang off the hook, news alerts pinged. Damon pounded the desk. "Stop this. Find the source." But every network had copies. Back in Geneva, Serena watched worldwide coverage from her war room. Investors gasped. Reputations crumbled. Lucian draped an arm around her shoulders. "It's done." Serena exhaled, relief and triumph mingling. Now the world can see the truth. At the annual Cross Ventures Shareholders Summit in Monaco's Grand Palace Hotel, Damon Cross stepped to the podium amidst tense silence. Behind him, a massive screen flickered, not with his quarter earnings, but with the title Serena Vale Live. Gasps rippled through the audience. Damon froze. The lights dimmed. Serena emerged on the screen, wearing Sarah Knight's power suit. She spoke calmly. "Good morning. For years, Damon Cross pretended I was dead. He used my absence to seize my fortune, marry my friend, and erase my legacy." She clicked a remote. The screen split to show the secret tapes. Murmurs swelled, then fell to stunned silence. Downstage, executives clutched notes. Damon's heart pounded. This was his boardroom as well as a crucible. Serena continued. "Today, I reclaim what is rightfully mine, not as a victim, but as the founder of Knight Technologies." Images flashed of her thriving company, twins at her side, soaring revenue graphs. The room vibrated with electric energy. From the back, Lucian Knight appeared, escorting Axel and Nova in matching smart blazers. Cameras pivoted to capture Damon's pale cheeks as father and children took their seats among shareholders. Serena's voice rang out. "To my investors, thank you. To Damon and Juliet, justice awaits." Lights brightened. Serena, Lucian, and the twins walked on stage to deafening applause. Damon's world shattered in that roaring ovation. Every cheer a dagger. He stepped down from the podium, legs unsteady, while Serena accepted the summit's Founders Award. Damon's empire was public property now, exposed, dethroned, and humiliated in the grandest theater of all. Within minutes of Serena's summit appearance, social media ignited. Hashtags trended. Hashtag Serena survived. Hashtag Justice for Serena. Hashtag Night Knockout. News outlets ran 24/7 coverage. Morning shows replaying footage, podcasts dissecting every word. Global sentiment sided with the woman brought back from the dead. On CNN Europe, an anchor marveled. Her ease on stage, it's as if she was born for this moment. BBC pundits compared Serena's return to historic comebacks. In Asia, tech blogs touted Night Technologies as the new message of female empowerment. Markets responded. Cross Ventures stock plummeted 40%. Night Technologies soared 80%. Damon awoke to a barrage of alerts. His inbox overflowed with cancellation notices. "We're severing ties." His biggest investor wrote, "Congratulations, Sarah." Juliet's messages begged forgiveness that would never come. Damon's former allies moved to secure their own futures, deserting him faster than rats from a sinking ship. In Geneva, Serena watched the global wave of support. She shared a private smile with Lucian as the twins pumped tiny fists at her side. Messages poured in from women who had survived betrayals, each story more heartrending than the last. Serena announced plans to personally read and respond to as many as possible. Meanwhile, Juliet left Monaco under darkness, her reputation ruined. Damon retreated to his study, staring at old photographs of happier days, before ambition corroded love. But the world's roar outside his walls drowned any hope of reconciliation. By nightfall, Night Technologies' headquarters glowed like a beacon. Serena posted a simple message: "Truth can't stay buried. Thank you for believing in second chances." Comments flooded in. Millions of hearts, shares, prayers. The world had chosen its hero. Serena Vale had returned, and nothing would ever bury her again. Within days of the global reveal, Serena's legal team filed a lawsuit in U.S. District Court, Vale versus Cross and Voss. The complaint demanded $1.2 billion in damages for attempted murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. News cameras lined the courthouse steps as Serena, Lucian, Axel, and Nova arrived. Serena wore tailored gray. Her posture was unshakable. The press clamored with questions. "Serena, do you expect justice? Your children here. Any message for Damon?" Serena paused, glanced at the twins smiling shyly, and said, "He took everything. Now the law will take back what's mine." Flashbulbs popped. Serena's confidence radiated, a beacon of righteous resolve. Inside the courtroom, Judge Alvarez reviewed mountains of evidence: the secret tapes, eyewitness affidavits, forensic reports matching Serena's DNA. Damon's high-paid attorneys scrambled to file motions to dismiss, but every objection collided with an unbreakable wall of proof. Juliet, in the gallery, wept silently. Damon sat at counsel table, face drawn. He attempted to whisper apologies, but Serena's steely glare cut through him. She watched the proceedings with calm determination, every glance reinforcing her vow. By mid-trial, jurors had seen the yacht footage, medical records, and Damon's voicemail admissions. The public watched live streams. Commentary declared the case open and shut. Night Technologies donated proceeds from its IPO to charities for betrayed women, turning courtroom victory into social good. On closing arguments, Serena's lead counsel stood, voice resonant. "This lawsuit isn't just about money. It's about accountability. Damon Cross and Juliet Voss conspired to extinguish a life. Today, we prove that no one is above the law." The courtroom fell silent. As the jury retired, Serena held Lucian's hand, twins perched on her lap. Outside, crowds chanted her name. In that moment of anxious waiting, Serena's journey, from cast-off wife to celebrated survivor, culminated in the promise of legal vindication. When the jury returned, four persons stood. "We find in favor of the plaintiff, Serena Vale." Serena rose, tears glistening. The courtroom erupted. In that verdict, she reclaimed more than wealth. She claimed her dignity, her future, and a legacy that no shove into the sea could ever drown. The marble steps of the U.S. District Courthouse echoed with hushed whispers as Serena Vale entered alongside Lucian Knight. Reporters lined the plaza, their microphones thrust forward. Serena offered a steady nod. Chestnut hair pulled into a sleek chignon. Lucian kept one arm gently around her shoulders, the other guiding Axel and Nova, who clung to his hand but peered curiously at the swirl of cameras. Inside, the courtroom was a cavern of dark wood and high ceilings. Judge Alvarez presided from an elevated bench, expression inscrutable. Damon Cross sat at the defense table in a charcoal suit too stiff for comfort, His eyes darted as plaintiff's attorneys set up easels displaying blow-up stills from the yacht footage. Serena watched calmly from the front row. Twins nestled at her side in matching gray blazers, symbols of the new life she'd built. Opening statements began. Serena's lead counsel, Marissa Grant, spoke with measured authority. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will see evidence of a conspiracy so cold, so calculated, it defies belief. Damon Cross sought to murder his wife for profit. He enlisted Juliette Voss to help stage her death, and then moved on as if nothing had happened. She clicked the first exhibit, the secret tapes. A hush fell. Cameras inside the courtroom captured Damon's face stiffening as audio of his whisper, "Make sure she doesn't come back," played through speakers. Juliette Voss sat behind Damon, ivory gown now replaced with a conservative suit, hands clasped in her lap. She avoided Serena's gaze. Serena sat still, absorbing each revelation. The hidden cameras, the insurance emails, the clandestine phone calls. Lucian squeezed her hand, offering silent support. Serena closed her eyes briefly, recalling the months she spent healing on that private island. Now she stood poised at the brink of justice. Damon's attorney rose for rebuttal, voice urgent. "These tapes are forged. The recordings are tampered. My client is a respected businessman who lost his wife to tragedy." He gestured toward Serena's vacant first-row seat in the original trial, implying manipulation. But Marissa countered with a forensic expert's testimony on voice-print analysis, confirming authenticity. Murmurs rippled through the gallery as the jurors scribbled notes, their expressions grave. As the morning session ended, the judge called a recess. Serena gathered her twins and Lucian at her side. Reporters pressed forward, calling her name. She paused at the doorway, looking back once at Damon, who stared at his shaking hands. Serena's heart steadied. She would see this through. Outside, the sun shone on the courthouse steps, a promise of clarity and resolution. The courtroom reconvened in the afternoon, tensions crackling like static. Juliette Voss rose from a reserved seat near the back and approached the witness stand with hesitant steps. Damon's eyes widened, disbelief flickering across his face. The gallery leaned forward as the bailiff swore her in. Serena's counsel, Marissa, offered a reassuring nod. Juliette's voice trembled at first. "I'm here to tell the truth," she said. She described the fateful night on the Serenity, how Damon had plotted the shove, how she'd stood by silently as Serena fell, how guilt had consumed her afterward. She produced a second USB drive containing unsent text messages, Damon's instructions, and her terrified responses. The messages corroborated the tapes. As Juliette read aloud, tears stained her cheeks. "I thought I was doing the right thing for us, for our future. But I was wrong." She paused, voice cracking. "I betrayed my best friend." Reporters scribbled furiously. Jurors exchanged looks of astonishment. Damon's stoic facade cracked. He pounded a fist into his palm and glared at Juliette. Marissa directed Juliette through her confession, the insurance fraud plan, the staged mourning, the transfer of funds into Juliette's accounts. Each revelation landed like a blow. When Juliette described Serena's hidden twins, Axel and Nova, entering Damon's office corridor to confront him, the jury gasped. Lucian sat beside Serena, twin hands clutching his shirt, pride shining in his eyes. As Juliette concluded, defense counsel rose to cross-examine. He sought to discredit her by highlighting her fear of Damon's threats and her own ambition. But Juliette held firm. "I knew the danger," she said softly. "I loved Serena. I had to do the right thing." Her eyes met Serena's across the room. Serena inclined her head, offering forgiveness without words. When questioning ended, Juliette stepped down. Reporters swarmed her as she left the stand, but she slipped away before they could ask questions. Damon remained alone, shoulders slumped, the weight of betrayal pressing down. Serena watched the gates of justice swing open wider. The truth was out, undefended, undeniable. The following morning, the courtroom brimmed with anticipation. Today, the twins would testify. Axel, 9 years old, and Nova, 8, sat in chairs on the witness stand, flanked by bipartisan security. Axel's dark curls brushed his collar. Nova's braids were adorned with tiny silver beads. Both wore expressions of solemn courage. Serena, seated just beyond the witness box, squeezed Lucian's hand as they watched their children. Marissa approached Axel first. "Tell us what you saw that day," she prompted gently. Axel cleared his throat. "I was walking down the hallway with Mom," he began, voice steady. "I saw Dad look at her, and then he hesitated. He licked his lips. He looked like he recognized her, but then he looked away. Then Mom didn't stop in front of me." Axel swallowed. "I knew something was wrong." Next, Nova took the stand. She shifted in her seat, gripping the edge of her skirt. "I remember hearing whispers," she said softly. "Dad was arguing with Mom in his office, but Mom sounded scared." She blinked. "The next day, Dad made me promise not to tell anyone." The gallery went silent. The jury members exchanged solemn glances, pens scribbling notes. Damon watched from the defense table, jaw clenched. He had counted on discrediting the adult witnesses, but a child's testimony cut deeper. When cross-examination began, defense counsel attempted to argue that the twins were coached by Serena and Lucian. But Lucian stepped forward, voice firm. "My children speak from their own hearts. They know their father's true face." Judge Alvarez listened intently, then allowed Axel one final comment. The boy squared his shoulders. "I love Daddy," he said, voice cracking. "But he's not the man he says he is. He hurt my mom." The words echoed through the courtroom. Serena blinked back tears of pride. Lucian rested a hand on his son's shoulder. As the twins left the stand, reporters buzzed with disbelief at their bravery. Serena rose and hugged Axel and Nova in front of the jury, a living testament to the damage Damon had wrought, and resilience that no shove into the sea could drown. That evening, the courthouse emptied under a pink sky. Serena returned to her penthouse in Geneva to gather paperwork for the closing arguments. Lucian and the twins remained nearby, reviewing exhibits. Back in Monaco, Damon Cross sat alone in his luxury townhouse, fidgeting with a silk tie. His attorneys had advised him to stay put until the verdict, but panic clawed at his mind. Damon's phone buzzed, a news alert declared. Closing arguments tomorrow, verdict expected Thursday. His pulse raced. He stared at framed photos of his former life, with Juliet and Serena. Regret flared, but fear burned brighter. He packed a small bag. Passport, cash, burner phone. He paused at the door, gazing at the crystal chandelier that once symbolized his success. That success was about to vanish. Under cover of night, Damon slipped through a side exit, evading notice. He hailed a black van waiting by the rear alley, arranged in advance by a loyal associate. The van sped toward the airport, weaving through deserted streets. By sunrise, Damon would be airborne, far from Monaco's reach. In Geneva, Serena awoke to dozens of missed calls. Lucian filled her in. Damon fled custody. He's gone. Serena stared at the blank walls of her bedroom, heart pounding. She felt no relief, only a surge of responsibility. Damon was now a fugitive, dangerous and volatile. She would have to ensure justice followed him across borders. Over the next hours, global manhunts splashed Damon's face on screens worldwide. Interpol alerts, private contractors, and local authorities joined the hunt. Night Technologies offered a reward for information leading to his capture. Serena watched from her war room, butterflies twisting in her stomach. "He won't escape forever," she said quietly. Lucian linked his arm with hers. "We'll bring him back." As night fell on Geneva, Serena looked at Axel and Nova playing in their pajamas. She thought of the night she nearly lost them at sea, and of the father now vanished into darkness. She vowed, whatever it took, Damon Cross would face the verdict he fled. 3 days later, the jury reconvened in a packed courtroom. Damon's empty chair at the defense table was a stark reminder of his flight. Judge Alvarez cleared his throat. "Members of the jury, have you reached a unanimous verdict?" The foreperson rose, voice clear. "Yes, Your Honor." The tension was palpable as the verdict was read. "We, the jury, find Damon Cross guilty on all counts: attempted murder, insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit murder." A collective exhale rippled through the gallery. Serena sat forward, tears glistening. Lucian reached for her hand, twins watching with solemn pride. Juliet, present as a witness and victim, wept openly. She approached Serena after the verdict, kneeling before her in the packed hallway. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. Serena knelt as well, lifting Juliet's chin. "Thank you for telling the truth," she whispered. "Now you can find peace." Judge Alvarez scheduled sentencing. Damon to face life imprisonment if captured. He issued an international arrest warrant. Outside, crowds gathered, supporters of Serena, activists for women's rights, every voice chanting her name. Cameras flashed as Serena stepped onto the courthouse steps, twins on either side. She raised her head to the cheering crowd. In the days that followed, Damon Cross was apprehended at a rural airstrip and escorted back under heavy guard. During sentencing, he remained silent as the judge imposed maximum penalties. 25 years for Juliet, reduced for cooperation, and life without parole for Damon Cross. Serena attended both hearings, standing resolute, children by her side. On the final day, the judge addressed Serena directly. "Ms. Vale, your courage and determination have brought this case to its rightful conclusion. May justice bring you, and your children, the peace you deserve." Serena nodded, voice steady. "Thank you, Your Honor." That evening, Serena returned to the lakefront terrace, where she had buried her wedding ring years ago. Axel and Nova played at her feet. She took their hands and whispered, "We're safe now." The moon shimmered on the water as Serena pulled from her pocket the old ring, a symbol of betrayal cast into the deep, and dropped it once more, watching it sink. She turned to her children, heart full, ready for the future she had fought so fiercely to reclaim. Late one storm-lashed evening, Serena Vale returned to her Geneva penthouse to find an unmarked envelope resting on the doorstep. The rain-slicked pavement reflected neon city lights, and her heartbeat quickened as she picked it up. No stamp, no sender, only her name scrawled in familiar icing script. Lucian appeared at her side, concern etched on his face. "What is it?" Inside, Serena discovered a single sheet of parchment, worn at the edges. The message read, "Serena, you've taken back everything I built. Soon you'll give me the one thing I can't replace. D." Her chest tightened. Damon's games had reached a new level. He was free on appeal bond but under strict supervision. Yet here was proof he still had reach. Serena crumpled the note. Anger and dread warred within her. Lucian slid arms around her, steady as ever. "He's testing you," he murmured. "He wants to see if you'll break." Serena inhaled, steadied her racing pulse. "He underestimates what I'm capable of." Over the next days, Damon's threat reverberated through Serena's mind. Was it a bluff? A guarantee of violence? She increased security protocols, fortified digital firewalls, and scheduled private lessons for the twins in self-defense. Still, the envelope's words haunted her. That weekend, Serena convened a clandestine meeting with her legal team and private investigators in a fortified boardroom. Maps were spread across a polished oak table. "He knows everything about my public life," she said, finger tracing a route on the city map. "He could strike anywhere." Her chief of security, Mariana, nodded, voice firm. "We'll sweep every location, run background checks on new hires, and monitor suspicious movements. But we need to draw him out." Serena leaned forward. "I want him to reveal himself." Lucian studied her. "How?" Serena's eyes glittered. "We'll send a message of our own." That night, Serena arranged a stage gala at Night Tower in downtown Geneva, an exhibition of her philanthropic foundation's work. Invitations were exclusive, the guest list tightly controlled. The gala's centerpiece would be a holographic address from Serena herself, delivered at the stroke of midnight. Only one guest would heed the invitation, Damon Cross. As Serena prepared in her suite, Lucian clasped her hand. "Promise me you'll stay safe," he whispered. Serena smiled, determination softening her eyes. "He tried to drown me. Now I'll drag him into the light." At midnight, under a crystal chandelier, Serena stepped before the crowd. The hologram flickered, and her voice filled the hall. "To the person who dares to challenge me, show yourself." Cameras clicked, guests gasped. Across the room, the back exit creaked open. A tall silhouette slipped inside. Serena's heart steadied into calm resolve. Tonight, the hunter became the prey. Dawn broke over the private island where Serena Vale first found refuge. The wind whipped through palm fronds as she and Lucian arrived by helicopter. The twins nestled asleep in padded seats. Serena inhaled the salt-tinged air, memories flooding back. The agony of her rescue, the strength she'd forged here. The island's caretaker, Amal, guided them along a winding path to the cliffside pavilion where Serena had once cradled newborn Axel and Nova. Mossy stones and flowering vines had reclaimed parts of a structure, lending it an air of forgotten sanctuary. Serena paused, fingers trailing along the weathered railing. "It's changed," she murmured. Lucian squeezed her hand. "So are we." Inside the pavilion, Serena found Amal arranging a small altar of white roses around an empty cradle, a tribute to her past and a promise for her future. She knelt, pressing a kiss to the wooden frame, eyes closing. Lucian set a duffel bag beside her, surveillance gear, encrypted laptops, and Damon's threat letter. Serena straightened with renewed purpose. "This place gave me life," she said. "Now it will give me power." They set up equipment in the old media room. Monitors hummed quietly as private investigators fed live satellite feeds from around the island. Serena studied the screens. Ocean inlets, helipads, hidden coves. "He won't hide here," she said, but her tone wavered with hope. "He'll strike where I least expect." Lucian tapped a screen. "He just landed on the East Beach, unmarked craft." Serena's breath caught. Damon had dared to return. They tracked his movements, boots crunching on gravel, flashlight flicking across driftwood, the hum of his rented ATV. Serena donned a covert earpiece. "He's headed inland," she whispered to Mariana, who signaled the island security team. Serena assessed Damon's profile, stony-faced, moving with urgent purpose. A dangerous desperation radiated from him. As morning sun burned away mist, Serena and Lucian cornered Damon in the island's abandoned boathouse, water-slick floorboards echoing his footsteps. Serena stepped from the shadows, twins beside her. Damon froze. "You shouldn't have come here," she said softly, voice edged with steel. Twins pressed closer, eyes wide but resolute. Damon swallowed. "You can't hold me," he spat, fist clenched. Serena's gaze was unwavering. "I already hold your fate." She gestured to Mariana, who secured Damon's wrists in cuffs attached to a patrol boat moored nearby. Damon's bravado crumbled as he realized the net had closed. As security escorted Damon under guard to awaiting authorities, Serena watched the waves lap at the shore. The island had reclaimed her once. Now it had reclaimed him. She knelt at the pavilion's railing, gaze drifting across the horizon. Lucian joined her, holding Nova and Axel. Serena's whisper carried on the salt breeze. "No shred of darkness can withstand the light of truth." Back in Geneva's glimmering tech district, Night Technologies headquarters buzzed with electric anticipation. Serena Vale stood at the helm of her conference room table, watching prototypes line the sleek counters. Educational tablets, AI tutors, interactive coding platforms, designed for children worldwide, but inspired by Axel and Nova's childhood triumphs. Media crews assembled beyond the glass walls. Today was launch day, the debut of Vale Kids, an educational ecosystem offering free basic access to underprivileged youth. Serena's vision was clear, to channel her success into empowering others. Lucian watched from the sidelines, pride shining in his gaze. "Ready?" he asked. Serena drew in a breath. "Let's change the world." At the podium, Serena delivered the keynote, her voice calm but incandescent with passion. "When I thought my life was over, my children gave me purpose. Now, Vale Kids will give children everywhere the chance to rise above their circumstances." Holographic screens lit up with children's smiling faces from pilot programs in Lagos, Mumbai, and Rio. Applause rippled through the audience. Investors and journalists flooded the demo floor afterward. Serena navigated the exhibition like a proud parent, guiding guests through gamified math challenges and virtual science labs. Axel and Nova grinned as they demonstrated a coding exercise, showing how the platform would adapt to each learner's pace. One reporter leaned in, whispering, "Your kids might be geniuses." Serena beamed. They're my greatest inspiration. That evening, Night Technologies' lobby transformed into a gala, celebrating the launch. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above the crowd as Serena took a moment on the rooftop terrace. The city lights stretched below like constellations. Lucian slipped beside her, offering champagne. To Vale kids, he toasted. Serena lifted her glass. To a future built on second chances. Just then, a notification pinged on her phone, a news alert. Vale Kids launches to global acclaim. Cross Ventures considering collaboration. Serena's smile faltered at the mention of Damon's empire, still reeling from collapse. Yet hope flickered. Bridging former rivalries could seed even greater impact. Serena pocketed her phone. Tomorrow she would decide. Tonight, she celebrated how far they'd come. Under a crisp autumn sky, Serena inaugurated the Vale Fund on the manicured lawns of her family estate outside Geneva. White tents fluttered in the breeze, hosting community leaders, survivors of betrayal, and philanthropists. A stone fountain carved with twin dolphins, her children's symbol, gurgled nearby. Serena, clad in a sapphire coat, welcomed guests with warmth and purpose. At the podium, she addressed the crowd. The Vale Fund is devoted to supporting women who have survived betrayal, violence, or abandonment. We provide legal aid, counseling, and seed grants to rebuild livelihoods. Her words resonated with survivors, women who had written letters of gratitude that Serena held dear. Among them was Amal, the island caretaker, tears shining as she waved. Post-ceremony, Serena led tours of the fund's new center, private consultation rooms, a pro bono legal clinic, and a tech hub powered by Vale Kids technology. Journalists captured her guiding a survivor through an interactive financial planning module. Serena's voice was measured but fierce. Every woman deserves safety and dignity. This is our promise. Over lunch in a glass-walled pavilion, Serena spotted Damon Cross in court-mandated community service, unmasked and humbled, planting trees under supervision. His presence was surreal. The man who tried to destroy her was now part of her foundation's reforestation project. Serena caught his eye. He bowed head in silent apology. Serena inclined hers in acknowledgement. Forgiveness, she realized, could be the final victory. As sunset painted the sky in lavender hues, Serena gathered her family for a symbolic planting. Axel and Nova planted saplings in a heart-shaped pattern. Serena placed a tender hand on her son's shoulder. "You're growing something beautiful," she murmured. Axel beamed. Nova squeezed her mother's hand. That evening, under twinkling lanterns, Serena invited guests to share stories of resilience. One woman spoke of escaping an abusive marriage, another of rebuilding after financial ruin. Serena listened, pride and empathy shining in her eyes. When the last speaker finished, Serena raised her glass. "To every woman who rises from the ashes, this is your foundation. May it carry you to new heights." Months later, Serena Vale walked through the grand foyer of her penthouse, twins racing ahead, laughter echoing off marble floors. The walls were adorned with awards: Entrepreneur of the Year, Humanitarian of the Decade, and most treasured of all, a framed newspaper clipping. Woman drowned in yacht accident, returns to rule tech world. Serena paused, fingers tracing the headline. Axel and Nova skidded to a halt by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Geneva. Serena joined them, wrapping arms around their shoulders. The twins pointed to a distant silhouette, a lone swimmer cutting through the dawn-lit water. Serena smiled. "Our morning lapse." Lucian emerged from the hall, dripping hair slicked back. He shrugged, grin playful. "Can't keep up with Mom." Serena laughed, picking up Nova with effortless grace. She kissed the top of her son's head. "Let's go." Together, they changed into wetsuits and stepped into the chilly water. Serena led the way, powerful strokes parting the surface. Axel and Nova followed, giggling as droplets scattered like diamonds. Lucian drifted behind, camera in hand, capturing the moment. Later, by the shore, Serena wrapped a towel around Nova's shoulders. Axel collected smooth stones. Serena watched her family, the embodiment of her fight, her loss, and her triumph. She recalled Damon's shove, the plunge into darkness, and the relentless tide that pushed her back to land. Now she swam freely, unafraid of depths. Lucian knelt beside her, offering a steaming cup of cocoa. Serena accepted, warmth spreading from mug to heart. He slid an arm around her waist. You've come full circle. Serena sipped, eyes bright. We have. Nova tugged at Serena's hand. Mom, can you tell us again how you learned to swim? Serena gathered them close. As the sun climbed higher, Serena began the tale. How the sea tried to claim her life, how a stranger saved her, and how she taught herself to fight back. Axel and Nova listened raptly. Serena's voice was soft, but every word carried the power of survival. In that final scene, mother and children, safe on solid ground, Serena Vale knew her story had become more than headlines. It was proof that betrayal could forge resolve, and that the deepest wounds could give rise to strength. As laughter and sunlight intertwined, Serena looked toward tomorrow with quiet confidence. The chapter had closed, but her life's narrative of resilience, redemption, and love would ripple outwards, endless as the sea she once conquered. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, and share. Also turn on the bell to get more of our videos. See you in the next story.